Hello everyone, my name is Roke here, and today we are going to be whipping our way back to retail to talk about the upcoming Ghosts of Koresh content update. It's approaching rapidly, and the PTR is already on its seemingly final build, so we have all the information we need to make a definitive explanation on everything you need to know as you're journeying into the mysterious fragmented lands of Koresh. There's some big changes coming as always in this major content update, so without further ado, sit back, grab an ethereal themed snack, and let's dive into everything you need to know about Koresh. As always with these breakdowns, we'll start with the simple and move into the more complex. So let's talk briefly about what Ghosts of Koresh is. Ghosts of Koresh is the final content update in the War Within, and we'll be closing out the first chapter in the World Soul Saga before we move into Midnight early next year. The story is bound to have some surprises for everyone, but I won't be diving into those in this video because, well, spoilers, it's kinda crazy. The content update arrives on August 5th, so players don't have much longer to wait before diving in. Diving into the actual zone itself and some of the things you can expect, we have to immediately address the newest form of player power, and that's going to be in the form of a brand new artifact cloak. Blizzard does seem to love their special cloaks, and we get a new one this season in the form of the Reshi Wraps. The Reshi Wraps are your key to tons of activities in Koresh, including something called phase diving that we'll get into in a little bit. The Reshi Wraps are a progressive system that will upgrade as weeks pass, and you'll get new and unique effects as well as a scaling item level all the way up to 730, and even giving you some unique interactions in the newest raid tier. You'll obtain the Reshi Wraps early on in your Koresh campaign, so look forward to having a shiny new cloak in your future. Players also get to enjoy a new-ish city hub in Koresh, with the infamous Tazavesh returning. This will be players' main hub for the content patch, and the city is beautifully updated with all the NPCs you'll need to never have to leave this place, as well as some unique interactions with ethereals and brokers alike. Those who found enjoyment in this place in Shadowlands are sure to enjoy it the second time around, and there's even a returning dungeon version coming that I'll touch on later. With a new zone comes a new Renown in the form of the Koresh Trust. This is a group of ethereals that you encounter during the campaign, and you work to build relationships with them to empower your Reshi Wraps, and even help you uncover some interesting things in your phase diving adventures, which we're going to go ahead and dive into now. Phase diving is a new system coming in Ghosts of Koresh that may be reminiscent of a more questionable time in WoW's history. If you played Shadowlands, bless your soul by the way, you may remember Korthia having a system where you could phase between two versions of the world, where you could find new rares, treasures, and objectives to compete that differed version from the main phase of the zone. Phase diving seeks to do that exact same thing, but with more to do on the other side. There's unique world quests in the other phase, as well as some cool mounts to obtain, and seemingly a puzzle that we'll learn more about when the Secret Finding Discord gets their hands on it when it goes live. I don't think this is anything too crazy as far as content goes, but it's something players can gnaw on while they're doing their early exploration in Koresh. There's also a new form of side progression in the zone known as Ecological Succession. In this storyline, players can work on rebuilding some of Koresh's ecosystem, and you'll go out into various parts of the old world collecting animals or items and bringing them back to ecodomes to see if they fit into the habitat. Over the course of the patch, you'll grow a nice ecosystem with unique cosmetic rewards, so if you're someone looking for some filler content to do and grab some neat new appearances at the same time, this will be the perfect content for you. Tier sets are returning in Ghosts of Koresh, and we have probably one of the most requested changes to them since the War Within started, and that's tier sets being based around hero talents. What this means exactly is that tier sets in Ghosts of Koresh will now have two separate bonuses depending on the hero talent specialization you're in, meaning you won't feel forced to play a specific one anymore, outside of regular issues like cost balancing, which I believe they're totally going to get 100% correct this time. This is a welcome change to tier sets, and I would expect it to stick around long into WoW's future. Speaking of tier sets, we can't slide by without acknowledging our new endgame pillar, and that of course is the new Manaforge Omega raid. This is a new 8-boss raid, though you could technically call it 7 with an optional encounter in the middle of the raid, and seeks to deliver some of the best fights we have seen this expansion. I'll be making some infamous dumb it down guides closer to the raid release window, but it's sure to be a power-packed set of encounters, and as always, make sure to tune into the Race to World First to see the world's finest finish the fight first. Of course, with a new raid tier comes another new raid renown. Blizzard introduced these this season as a form of consistent raid progression with rewards and a raid buff, and I think they played out fairly well for the most part. The Manaforge Vandals will progress pretty much the same in terms of needing to collect a decent amount of rep from killing raid bosses and lieutenants, and this is something raiders will passively see grow as the weeks go on. Something to note is that we got a small nerf on the raid buff itself, as it now caps out at 15% instead of the 18% we saw in Liberation of Undermine. Besides that though, awesome new raid renown and excited to see how this evolves in the future. Something I am so happy to see Blizzard doing for 2 seasons in a row now is introducing a new dungeon. Ghosts of Koresh brings a new dungeon in the form of Echo Dome Aldani, and it looks gorgeous. It seems to be a fast-paced dungeon and will immediately enter the Mythic Plus pool this season. And based on the PTR testing I've done, I think it is a fresh breath of air in an otherwise very purple patch. This will make the War Within the first expansion with 10 dungeons since Legion, and it is a welcome change for sure as we head into the next chapter of the World Soul Saga. That being said, there is another dungeon experience returning that players may be excited to get their hands on, and that's Tazavesh. That's right, Tazavesh is back yet again in its infamous 2-dungeon glory in this season's dungeon pool. And while that in itself may be exciting, players will also be thrilled to hear that the Mythic Zero version is also returning with a newly updated hard mode. This will launch alongside the season on August 12th, and will reward players who conquer the hard mode with new hero track loot, but promises to be a difficult challenge as they have revamped most of the bosses with new mechanics to reflect the added difficulty. It's great to see Tazavesh back, and I can't wait to dive into it. Touching briefly on the rest of the Mythic Plus season for Ghosts of Koresh, we have returning dungeons in the form of Priory of the Sacred Flame, Arakara, Dawnbreaker, Operation Floodgate, and Halls of Atonement from Shadowlands. The War Within dungeons were chosen from a pool of voters who decided which dungeons should come back, and while some may be a bit heartbreaking to see again, I'm looking at you, Priory. I think there will be an exciting season ahead of us. Players have some unique new rewards to look forward to as well, which I'll dive into in our rewards section later on. Mythic Plus dungeons are also getting an update in the form of checkpoints. Dungeon Waystones are being added in all dungeons and reflect a sort of checkpoint for if you die you can easily spot where you'll be coming back. Checkpoints are being added and updated for all dungeons over time, and it'll be nice to see Blizzard put more work into the dungeon system, as it can feel a bit lost sometimes with so few and far between changes. Overall, this is an amazing change, and huge kudos to Blizzard for it. A new season gives us yet another Delve Nemesis to encounter, and this season we have a very fitting one for one of our ethereal journeys, as we're going to once again face off with Nexus Princess Kaiveza. Avid raiders will remember her from Nerubar Palace in Season 1, as she vowed to see us again, and it seems this time she's here to finish the job. Players can encounter her in the new Void Razor Sanctuary Delve in Koresh, and truly put an end to her devious plans. Doing so on the hardest difficulty will reward you with a unique appearance for your brand new Mana Skimmer mount, so be sure to take care of this before the War Within ends to cash in on the sweet, sweet rewards. Speaking of seasonal rewards, I'm going to briefly list them all here for you at a glance, as it's more of the same from the previous season. As this is the final content update in the expansion, Ahead of the Curve will grant you a mount this season. Ahead of the Curve grants you the Royal Voidwing mount this time around, and it's just the uncorrupted Voidwing from BFA with armor, I guess, which is okay. But the real eye grabber is the Mythic raid mount this time around in the form of the Unbound Star Eater. This gorgeous mount will be available to players who conquer Dimensius on Mythic difficulty, and will drop at 100% rate until the launch of midnight. Mythic Plus players can enjoy their usual variety of mounts, with Keystone Master rewarding the Azure Void Flyer, who takes on a new skeleton, I think, and looks pretty damn cool. Pushing beyond into Keystone Legend will reward you with the Scarlet Void Flyer recolor for a bit more extra flair. Finishing within the top 0.1% of Mythic Plus rating will reward you with the Unbound Hero title, and of course completing the Keystone dungeons on a plus 10 or higher will reward you with instant teleports to the dungeons as well. The mini-meta returns in Season 3 as well, as completing one of 3 achievements will get you a bonus charge in the Catalyst. The objectives for this is defeating Dimensius on Heroic or Mythic, attaining 2000 rating in Mythic Plus, or attaining 1600 rated PvP rating. Players should seek to complete this early on to get that extra catalyst charge and finish their tier sets. You can also get some extra flair for your tier sets with an upgraded appearance by completing the Void Where Prohibited achievement, obtainable by either defeating Dimensius on Mythic difficulty, obtaining Keystone Hero, or Elite rating in PvP. PvPers have something to look forward to, as Koresh has an entire island segment dedicated to it. A new island called Vanquisher's Wake will allow players to swoop in and contest for the territory, with unique world quests and rewards for players to fight over and farm rewards for in an all-new open-world arena. Those who venture into rated PvP can also get the Astral Gladiator's Fellbat to show off their strength at the end of the season. Now, it can't be an everything in Season 3 video without addressing some rumors in the community, and the biggest one right now has to be some mysterious evidence of a potential third Demon Hunter spec. Whether you want to believe this or not is entirely up to you, but there's definitely been some interesting speculation based on a few factors. First off, there has been this imaging floating around, seemingly revealing a third specialization called Entropy. I wouldn't put too much into this one, as it's already been exposed as a Hearthstone art that has been repurposed, so I wouldn't put too much weight into it. There's also the theory that the third Demon Hunter specialization is linked to the optional encounter in the raid that I briefly mentioned earlier. The fifth boss in the raid, the Soul Hunters, are completely optional and are not required for any meta achievements in Manaforge Omega. Why this is the case hasn't been disclosed by Blizzard, but most are assuming it has something to do with this third spec. There was also this data mined icon for Metamorphosis Void, which is probably just an ability icon for the boss encounter itself, but who knows, maybe it's a special variant of the ability for Demon Hunters coming up. Now, if you want my take on this, I think the most likely scenario is that we are going to get more playable races for Demon Hunter. Without spoilers, there is a questline in Koresh where a certain somebody goes on a journey with a Demon Hunter or two, and ends up getting some control over that power. I would expect to see Demon Hunters playable on Void Elves and maybe even Nightborn races sometime between now and midnight, just as a little extra flair. But after the debacle that was Augmentation Evoker, I don't know how much of a rush Blizzard is in to throw a new specialization in mid-season. I know I missed a few things in this video in the gearing avenue, but that's because I feel like there's just too much to take a look at, and this video is already a bit longer than what I'm used to, so sometime next week you can all expect a video specifically on gearing in Season 3. That way you don't have to dig through all the other things if you're focused on making sure you're ahead week 1 and getting into the thick of it. There's a few interesting changes to gearing this season, and I want to make sure I give it the time it deserves so that the information is conveyed correctly. And I think that is it for a general overview of all things Ghosts of Koresh. This was a fun overview video to do, and the PTR cycle this time around was really fun to mess around in, as they seem to let loose on unlocking things early and seeing the progression as it's intended. My upcoming videos are being shifted a bit. I know I said I was going to talk about Midnight. I know I'm going to get to it, I promise. But the next video is going to be about gearing in Season 3. That way you guys aren't missing out on any core information prior to the patch going live. After that, we are going to Theorycraft and dissect that Midnight key art for Gamescom. And then there will be some more MOP Classic content to look forward to, as I'd like to dive into Celestial Dungeons and what players can expect as far as progression from them. As always, if you like this video, please drop a like and subscribe down below, and don't forget to hit that bell icon so that you don't miss a new upload, as we have a lot of content coming. Thank you all again so much for watching this video, and I'll see you guys next week for some more content. Until then, stay safe and have fun, and I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya!